and welcome back to BluzesTech Media. My name is Cher and I'm a photographer and videographer here at BluzesTech Media, here to show you how to edit photographs in Photoshop. So in our last video, we went over masking. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to use clone stamping to remove blemishes on faces in Photoshop. So starting off, this picture is gorgeous. Just gonna say that there's literally probably no issues with this picture, but I am seeing a little bit of skin texture, so probably the photographer did not do heavy skin retouching. So I'm not gonna do the full skin retouching process, which is called dodge and burn. I'm gonna go over dodging and burning in a future video. So for right now, I'm just gonna be showing you just quick retouches that you can do using the clone stamp tool, making it look as natural as possible. So I'm going to select the clone stamp tool, which is S. So the shortcut for clone stamp tool is S. So you're clicking on S, my clone stamp tool pops up. It looks just like the brush tool. Same options come up here in the bottom. You can change the size of the brush that you want it to be, as well as its hardness or softness. And I'm going to increase it a little bit. Boom. So this right here on the bottom kind of gives you an example of what the brush is going to look like. So that's super soft, that's super sharp or hard, and this kind of tells you how big it's going to look and how versus how tiny and small the brush is. So like I said, I'm going to go back to about 30. Now I'm going to zoom into the picture. But not before. I did it earlier, but make a copy. You can make a copy of your layer by Command J. It's fairly important to make, copies of your work because I want to make sure that you have an original to go back to just in case it gets a little bit too messy with your editing. So I already made my copy. I Command J'd it, made a copy. Now I fixed up my brushes, and before we move on to that step, let's kind of look up here and see what's going on and what do these things mean. So sample, it's asking you where do you want to get the clone sample from? Do you want to get it from the current layer, which is this layer right now, which is selected? I'm going to click on this layer. Good. So do you want to sample from this current layer? Do you want to sample from this layer and below it, which is this layer? Or do you want to sample from all layers? So since we're kind of using pictures that are exactly the same, I'm just going to stick on the current layer. This right here is your airbrush tool. You can enable it. It's an airbrush style to build up your effects. It's really good to use the airbrush tools. I like to use it more when I'm using my tablet. So the tablet that I use is called Wacom. I can share the link with you in the description box of the tablet that I use. I think using a tablet is amazing because it gives you much more precise editing work. I'm not using a tablet right now, but usually when I am doing skin retouching, I'm using a tablet. Your flow. So you want to think about flow, how you would think about a bucket of water and a canvas, or a bucket of paint, I guess. That makes more sense. Do you want to take the entire bucket of paint and throw it on the canvas? That's going to be 100%. Or you can take the bucket of paint and slowly drip it onto the canvas. That is going to be a lesser percent. So it really is basically what flow is you get the same amount of product, but it's a build up. Having the flow on 100% isn't much of a build up of your effects. It just immediately drops the effects on the pictures. But having a lesser number kind of helps you build up to the effect. I'm going to keep it at 100 right now so that you can kind of see the effect more clearly. You get the same job done. It's really just a preference on like how your workflow and what you can handle. Cool. Keeping it on 100. Now I'm going to use my zoom tool and just zoom in a bit on this picture. Great. So like I said, not much issues, if at all, with this picture, but we're still going to use the clone stamp tool just so I can kind of give you an example of what it looks like when you use it. So I'm on my zoom tool. I'm going to go back to my clone stamp tool. So I'm going to hold on to Alt, my clone stamp tool. I'm going to see this little target pop up, and that's asking me, where do I want to sample from? And I'm not going to choose a place. I'm not going to sample from an area all the way over here because the lighting is different and it's going to be very obvious that it was sampled. So I'm going to sample from an area that's kind of closer to that blemish. I'm going to sample from right about here, click on it and let go. I know that it worked because I can see that piece of, or that sample of skin that I took moving. So now I'm just gonna drop it right above. There we go. I'm gonna do the same for this mark right here and for this one right here. Perfect. So we're gonna look at the before and after. That was the before. That's the after. And you see, it looks very natural. Doesn't look like anything was photoshopped or touched, which is what you're aiming for. So I'm gonna show you of what not to do. So if you wanna get rid of something over here, in this brighter part, you don't wanna sample from this darker part, like I said earlier, because that's what's gonna happen. It's literally sampling from this darker spot, and you're just gonna be dropping that on her face, and now that looks weird. Gonna Command Z them. So you wanna make sure that you're sampling from colors that are very similar. So once again, that's the before. Gonna zoom in a bit so you can see that. That's the before, and that's the after. So clone stamp tool, make sure you're out there using it. We're gonna go over in our next video the healing brush tool. It's very similar to the clone stamp tool, but has its differences. So stay tuned for that, and thank you so much for watching this tutorial on how to use the clone stamp tool. Hope you enjoyed it.